Hi, this is Angel, your wellness coach for Fit Fun Healthy Club. And today's video is going to be different because instead of workouts and healthy recipes, I am going to share to you tips on how to take flat lay photos. And you're going to see that in 3, 2, 1. I decided to make this video because I know a lot of you joined the online body transformation challenge, and I know there are a lot of you as well who are confused of what a flat lay is and how to make it or how to do it. So since Gen H, I am gonna share to you some tips on how I make my flat lay photos. So a flat lay photo is basically a photo that is shot from above where your camera is parallel to a surface where your items are laid flat. So flat lay. Because of this, that surface becomes your background, which takes me to tip number 1, surface. So the surface becomes your background, which is why you want it either white or on a subdued muted color or pattern, so your objects would just easily stand out from the photo. I personally use a retazo or like a scrap laminate from my cabinet, so it's like so portable, or it's easy to move around wherever you want to set it up. So, and the color is like very subdued brown with non-distracting pattern. So it's like wood and it looks pretty. So that's what I use for my flat lays if you've seen my post on Instagram. That helps a lot because, like I said, you can set it up anywhere. So if you have a lot of things that you want to take a photo of and you can't use the table, you can just put it on the floor, set it up on the floor, and just take a photo from while standing up. Instead of, I know you've seen people at restaurants standing up on chairs to take a photo of their food. You don't have to do that when you have this laminate or whatever easy to carry surface, because you can just put it on the floor, set it up there, and then just take a photo standing up. So that's one easy thing to do. And make sure you choose a surface that is not super glossy, because you don't want glare and unwanted reflections on your photos, because it would take away the people's focus on the items that you really want them to look at. So for example, these photos. So these photos are like the same, well, almost the same arrangement, the same composition, but because they have a different surface, one is on our table, which has glass on top of it, which shows the reflection of the light from above, compared to the one with my portable laminate surface, which is like subdued color with pattern that is not so distracting, which helps you to actually look at the photos that are presented there and not on everything else. So that's a good surface to use. Tip number 2 is lighting. So make sure your light source is not directly on top of your setup, because you might think it already looks pretty, it's ready, but the moment you put your hand on top of it to take a photo, boom, shadow. And that destroys a photo so much, especially flat lays, because you want people to actually see your objects, see your items, not covered by shadow or whatever. So like I said, the movable thing helps because you can just set it up anywhere you want where there's good light source and all that. But if you can't really do it, you don't have the movable surface that I said, you can just do this trick. Instead of taking a photo from directly on top of your setup, you can move your hand to the side so it's not within your setup, and then just zoom it in and then take a photo. That way it's still parallel with no shadow. Tip number 3 is composition. So you can set up your objects into your frame depending on the vibe that you want. It could be straight to a T, like very organized, or random, just like items spilling out of your bag or whatever. It doesn't matter. It depends on you, on how creative you want it to look like or how organized you want it to look like. But one composition tip that is used for anywhere, not just in photography but art, everything, is the rule of thirds. So you can see on this screenshot of my phone, there is the grid line. So these grid lines would divide your frame horizontally and vertically into like 3 parts. So the rule is to put your objects where they lay along the lines or where the lines intersect. I really can't explain why it makes your composition more beautiful, but I just know that the rule of thirds is based on the golden ratio, and the golden ratio is derived from the patterns of nature. Maybe that's why it looks more beautiful, because God created it himself. So next tip, number 4, accessories. So accessories and props are not always necessary, because sometimes your focus items already fill up the frame with enough negative space to actually let the objects breathe. But when you do use accessories, make sure they match the theme of your flat lay, because people will then be confused what your focus items really are, especially when your props are almost the same size as your focus items. So make sure to stay on one theme and then use items that match that theme. Also, one thing we were taught in design school is what we call color planning. This concept just means that your eyes would focus on one color that bounces within the composition. So if you want people to see a certain color, make sure you use that same color around the composition. For example, this product in the middle, the product is white, green, and kind of reddish. So if you want the green to pop out, use accessories or props around the composition that are green. If you want the red to pop out, use accessories or props within the composition that are red. So this technique would lead the viewer's eyes into that certain color, and the more it bounces around the composition, the more that color pops out. So you can use this if you want people to focus on something within your focus object. So yeah, last tip, number 5. So my last tip is to explore and learn from others. You can search #Flatlay on Instagram so you can see other people's posts, other people's Flatlay photos, and learn from them how they arrange their objects, how they plan, like the color planning, or other techniques that you might see that I have not mentioned. Because these guides, these tips are just guides, and just like Pablo Picasso, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. So if what you did is not within the tips that I gave you, but you pulled it off, then good for you. That's actually better. That's how new trends happen, when you try to make something that other people say won't work, but you make it work. So yeah, those are my 5 tips for doing flat lay photos, and I hope you learned something from it. And if you like it, click that thumbs up button, and if you want to see more, including workouts and healthy recipes, please subscribe to my channel. And yeah, happy flat laying, guys, and good luck with the challenge. Bye.